Hello viewers. So today I, Karan, a student of XLI's GM program, would be interviewing with me Mr. Ajay Kumar from Thoucentric. Telling a bit about Mr. Ajay. Mr. Ajay is a distinguished leader with extensive experience in strategic program management and organization development. As a founding member of Thoucentric, Mr. Kumar heads people and enablers globally, and his strategic initiatives have been crucial in shaping the organization's core competencies. His previous role at HP and Dell as program manager highlights his ability to excel in complex environments and turn visionary ideas into effective plans. Welcome, Ajay.
Thank you.
So, how do you feel sitting on a couch?
I feel great. Thanks for inviting me. I think XLRA is a great campus where, someone like me can be invited. So it's wonderful to be part of this.
We're very excited to host you. So, like Ajay, I was talking. So, I would like to capture your views on the emerging people technologies and the concepts that you guys are following, and what your personal views are, and how are you leading or methodologies that you are accepting at Thoucentric, right? So, I have particularly divided my conversation into four different segments.
Okay.
One being strategic alignment, second being relationship with HR and employees,
Okay.
and third being talent fetching, and fourth I would like to gather your views on what's the future of HR as per you, right?
Okay.
So to start off, I would like to know, Ajay, so as you were one of the co-founders of Thoucentric, right? You have witnessed the company's growth from 0 to 10 and then from 10 to 100 or 1000, whatever you say. Can you share some insights on how the employee policy and procedures have evolved over this time? And was the employee first strategy part of Thoucentric's ethos, or was it was there a pivotal moment which led to the adoption of this?
Okay. So I think I'll answer probably the question on whether the employee-centric approach was how it started. Yes, to answer that, yes, that was the way we wanted to design it. The name itself kind of resonates that thou-centric means centered around you, and we consider the you is either an employee or a client.
Okay.
So we want to keep both the employee as well as the client in the center of our universe, and everything revolves around it. So the experience that we want to give an employee versus a client is very similar. So we want to give them a differential experience compared to any other companies they have worked with or worked for, depending on whether it's an employee talking about or a client. And that's how we have initially thought of designing this whole structure. So when we started, so I was fortunately the fourth employee to join, and now we are around 500 plus. The way we have grown is understanding what we need and how we need to process a particular structure, or how we need to think of a particular structure that we need to have in a company like Thoucentric. Because when we initially started, there was no structure and there was no process, there were no policies as such. Because I know I was explaining this during the panel discussion as well. When the initial set of people were identified to join us, these were all from our first connects in LinkedIn, and the second connects from LinkedIn, and the first connects of our first connects in LinkedIn. So we practically knew everyone who joined us, and they all joined us for a particular reason. So they all had a project in mind. So it was the project that came first, and then we identified who we should put for that project. So these people who joined us, they believed in us because of the set of people that we had initially formed. And these were some of the stalwarts in our business in each category that you can consider. And their credibility was the reason why people joined us. And they all joined and started up their own specific client project, whatever they were assigned with. And things were smooth and things were running as expected. We never felt that you need to have a employee policy or a process to govern everything. We never felt there is a need for someone to come and talk about a particular path, or maybe create a path for each of the people who joined us, because they were clear on what they need to do. Some of them were experts in supply chain planning and they want to grow in that, and they had all the skill set that they need to run whatever they were expected to in that particular client project area, and they were ready to learn anything new that they need to gain over the period of time to do a better job. So they were very clear, and we felt there was no such need. And to be frank, we never thought of creating a structure like what we see now in Thoucentric at that point of time.
Okay.
After we crossed 50, when we started hiring from the market, from campuses, people who we don't have a direct connect, that's when we realized we need to have some kind of structure. And we were very clear that we didn't want to have a conventional, traditional HR type of a structure right from the beginning. And that credit goes to our founder Nilakshi. So she kind of convinced most of us to believe in a very philosophical utopian structure that she had envisioned, which is more driven by introspection. So what we believe is, if you have a company of, let's say, 50 or 100 or 1000 employees who exactly know who they are, what they can do, we felt then there is no need for any governance. If I'm capable enough to introspect and see what I have done in the last 6 months or 12 years, 12 months, or how many other years I've spent in the industry, and realize that these are the 5 things I'm good at and these are the 2 things I'm not good at, and that trust the individual shows in, or the genuinity, or the understanding of their capability that that particular individual shows, we feel that is the most important point or a factor that makes the growth, or creates the growth for that particular individual. Because I know exactly what I need to do, because these are the 5 things I'm good at. I would want them to focus on those 5 things and optimize, enhance, improve, upskill on those areas, rather than focusing on the 2 skills which I'm not good at. And that the understanding based on which the whole framework is created. We were thinking that if all our employees know what they are good at, then that organization itself is at a much elevated position, because you are talking about 100 employees who know exactly who they are, what they can do and what they cannot do, and how they can move around a system, how they can grow in their career, and how they can introspect, be self-aware, and that's the kind of group that we want to create. And with that thought in mind is how we formed the whole HR policies and procedures that we have in the system. So some of the statutory part of the HR policies and compliance, that's always there. But when it comes to people and how people needs to behave in the organization, that's quite different from most of the companies, at least I've known. And so that's a very deliberate decision. I probably gave a very long answer, but yeah, I think that's how we have stayed different.
It was a very elaborate answer, and I think you have covered a lot. So what I take away is that Thoucentric at the moment has a horizontal structure, and you give liberty to the people, right?
Yeah.
So moving on to the next question. So it is related with the integration of HR with the non-HR functions. As we all know that HR is more of a people enabler function in any company. So how do you see the integration of HR with non-HR functions evolving in the next 5 years within Thoucentric?
Okay. So I think in general, and I know these were some of the points that were discussed during the panel discussions, not just in ours, the other 2 as well. The success of whatever we drive as culture by the HR team depends on how the other practices, the other departments are getting their vision aligned. So if I want to drive a particular culture or a particular way of working in the company, the rest of the larger organization should be completely aligned to that thought process. Because if that doesn't happen, then whatever we say as culture will never work. So how it is done in Thoucentric is, it's the central body called Neon that takes care of the culture in the company, and it's called Neon because neon is an inert gas, as you know. It doesn't take the characteristics of anything that it gets in touch with. So it's a very unbiased system. It doesn't come under any particular practice. They come directly under us. So they always act as a very unbiased entity, and the policies, anything that's concerned with the employee experience, are all driven by the Neon team. And that's right from the leadership to the last employee who joined the day before or maybe 1 hour back. They are expected to follow that same structure and way of working, or the way of consulting, however you want to call it. So that's the only way you can get the culture built in a company. And without the culture, I don't think there is a company.
Sure.
You can have skills, you can have n number of entities who are extremely proficient in multiple areas, but if there is the lack of culture in that company, there is nothing that unites them. And without being part of a company, being part of that unity, I don't think any company can survive in the long run. So
True.
what is extremely important for any company's success is how they are able to propagate the culture, and uh, the culture bits instilled to every other individual who's joining the company, and that has to at least maybe not 100% but at least 70% should resonate with everyone in the company. And because 100% is an impossibility, you will never have everyone 100% aligned to what your ways of thinking, but we feel at least a 70 to 75% of people are aligned. A lot of us will function very uniformly across anyone who's coming through, so they all will feel that yeah, there is a style of working, there is a way of working which is unique to the Aucentric. It's slightly different from a lot of other companies they have probably worked with. I think, yeah, I mean, that's how the HR function has to, how do I put it? So the HR function has to create, build, and propagate the culture across all other non-HR functions. And I would not call any function as non-HR, because as long as these functions are dealing with people, it's all the
Integrated.
same. It's all
Yeah.
part of the same culture building functions. Maybe their core competency or primary priority is different, but without having people, without ensuring people experience, no function will exist. So it's all very much interlinked, and culture is that the linking, what do you call, the binding force across these functions. And if company realizes it and moves moves forward in that direction, I think everything else will run smooth.
That's very interesting concept that you have told, that HR is not just a separate function, and it's then and there with every function, right? And also how the neon acts as a torch bearer of the whole culture that you guys have grown and cultivated so far. Yep. So moving on in the discussion, so I would like to explore the aspects of how you guys maintain your relationships with the employee. So prima facie, I would like to ask you about diversity and inclusion. So there have been numerous number of studies which say that diversity and inclusion is something which promotes innovation, decision making, and helps the company to achieve better results. So since you guys have multiple offices in India, outside India, how do you ensure that diversity and inclusion initiatives are not just HR driven, but also embraced and implemented across all departments?
Okay. It's a great question, more relevant in this age. So I think we primarily believe that it's the talent that we are acquiring. The talent has no gender, no community, no state, or no other characteristics associated with it. So when I call a talent, talent can be anyone. It can be he, she, or a non-binary. I mean, to me or to us, it's all the same as long as the person is able to deliver and have the right skill set for the particular job and is a culture fit. The person is offered a job in the company, and so that is what we primarily believe in. Talent is just talent. There is no gender, there is no community, there is no other societal characteristics associated with it, and we want to believe in that, because that's how we as a company can grow. Now, when it comes to the DEI part, the inclusion, diversity, and equity, I would say we have started it because I feel it's a journey that a company has to go through, for the reason that not everyone is comfortable understanding the complexities of the DEI, and I'm talking about the LGBTQIA+, because it's even though it's been there all the while, the way it's clearly defined, like the way it's defined now, I don't think it's been long that people have gotten a good understanding of what each of these categories stands, and how does it differ and how does it matter. So which is why I will move back to the same point, that we look at talent as a talent alone. There is no other caveats associated with it, and irrespective of whatever group they fall under, to us we feel that is a talent. If the person is good enough for the role, culture fit, it's a perfect match. Now the fact that we have to also look at is culture fit, because if anyone from the community of LGBTQI+, planning to join us or we have offered, we need to make sure that our company also is equipped enough to handle
Yeah.
that cultural variance. And that's something that we have started very, I mean, I will agree that we have not started that long back. I think probably like 6 months or so into it. So what we have done in the last couple of months is have run trainings to educate the employees within the company how they are different, what these categories are, and how we can consider, if at all an opportunity comes for them. And I'm sure so far I don't think we have ever rejected anyone because of the cultural community they fall under. But we want to make sure that we are able to hire and probably identify some people who can be trained and brought into this side of consulting. And that's something that we have started doing the last 6 months. So quite an amount of training programs and awareness flyers, and we have created policies specific for DEI so that it's compatible, because it's policy and procedure is one, but how do you make sure that your system is capable enough to handle it? So usually if you look at the recruitment system, you will be you will be asked to explain your sex, the male female.
Yeah.
So we need to have a category right there included, so that whoever is joining us doesn't feel discriminated. So we have done all that in the last 6 months. So we are slowly moving into uh, more educating the people around us within the company, so that if at all an opportunity comes for hiring such people, he or she doesn't feel or uh, what do you say, discriminated being part of the company. And that's, I think, end of the day, it's the talent that we respect, and I
So
think that's about it.
no, that's a very great approach that you guys are taking, because I feel you cannot change the policies or educate your existing employees post you have inducted
Yeah,
someone into the company, right? So
yeah,
you have to do all
can't
the
do that.
training and everything before they join.
Correct.
And yeah,
And there is a journey for that, and not everyone
yeah,
can not everyone will easily accept it.
true,
And not because they don't like for when someone coming from that community, it's just because they are not have not seen them, they have not worked with them.
right.
So I want to make sure that that was something which I was very clear that before we take a step in that, I want the company to be ready for it,
Right.
and people should accept like they accept anyone else, and I feel that's how it should be.
That's a very forward looking approach and a very healthy one. Moving on, I would like to know, since one of the prima facie responsibilities of a people enabler or a HR department is to build the right talent pipeline, right?
Mhm.
So what kind of leadership qualities you guys look for in your existing employees who could scale up the ladder, and how do you plan, or how are you developing them to fit in the right spaces ahead?
So this is more from the HR side, or you're talking about the technical side?
From the HR side.
Okay, so if I understand the question, you're saying who should be, what are the leadership qualities in an HR that you expect
Yep.
someone to
Yep.
have? Yeah, I think being part of HR, and in our case, I'll say that being part of Neon, uh, there are a certain qualities that we expect them to have. And usually, so we don't have a large team, because as an employee strength, we are only 500. So our Neon team is hardly 3 to 4 people. But we did a lot of scrutiny to identify the right person for that particular role, because we need someone whose emotional intelligence is extremely high,
Hmm.
because they are expected to work with people in and around the organization. They should be emotionally compatible with people around. So someone with a high emotional intelligence can understand others' feelings, empathize with them, and work with them, and they will be able to create a very cohesive environment where they can nurture talents across the respective of what
So
function they come from. So emotional intelligence is extremely important. The other one is a strategic vision for the Neon and even the talent acquisition team. And I was explaining this in the panel discussion. So for us, new business, most of the time, 80% of the time, means we need to have new set of people to be hired. So someone, the talent acquisition team especially, and the HR team especially, they need to have their strategy planned along with the business. So if
true.
the plan is for the business to grow in a particular industry or in a particular geography, the TA team should be very much aligned with it, so that they can plan it in advance and have things ready, have the pipeline ready to start hiring people in a particular industry or in a geography or in a particular with a particular skill set. So the strategic vision is extremely important because I feel that's the only way you can successfully run a business, especially in the consulting world. Being in a product company, maybe it's a slightly different challenge, but in consulting, you're practically diversifying your area into all directions. Product,
So
usually once you design a product, once you are specialized and once you are respected for a particular product in the market, most of your technology R&D will be on a similar line.
true.
Consulting is very different. So you work in finance now, BFSI finance. The next day you're working in a supply chain planning. The third day you're working in a business intelligence program in analytics. Fourth day you will be in a project management, probably for a due diligence activity in a company like an FMCG or a CPG company. So your work style is extremely diversified. So if the TA team is not aligned to this kind of a diversified model of planning and vision, I don't think TA will be successful. So yeah, strategic vision is extremely important. And third is I know I'm switching between the talent acquisition and the Neon team because for us these are two different teams. That's how we run it. So when it comes to Neon again, what I believe is you need to be a very influential leader. So you have to talk clearly, persuasively, and your whatever you're talking about should be extremely diplomatic. So clear, persuasive, diplomatic conversation is extremely important because you're talking to 500 different people and they have very extremely different type of characteristics, or their character types are extremely different. So the people whoever is going to talk to them, they need to understand them. They have to be a good listener. So these are all factors I feel is very much important for an HR person. So I was talking about strategic vision, someone who aligns themselves with the strategic vision of the company. Second is an influential leader. Third, I would say is what was I talking about? Yeah, emotional intelligence, right? So I think these three are very much important, and I think the other parts of it, how effectively you can work, how analytically driven you are is like a given. So that's because a lot of HR functions way of work is driven by the analytics behind the whole setup. You need to know, again, the turnover rate based on which you need to make sure that your hiring pipeline is created. You need to make sure the attrition control is in place. What's the attrition percentage? You can look at the history of attrition and predict that, okay, in August I'm expecting at least 5% of the company to quit because that's the history you have seen in the last 5 years. So a lot of analytic driven activities are anywhere there. So those are our given. So apart from all those, the EI, strategic vision, and influential communication is very important.
I completely agree with you that emotional intelligence, I believe, is not just for the HR, but for a company like you who are into the consulting space. Emotional intelligence is something which each and every employee should have, right? So, talking on the same lines, I would just like to understand that how are you guys developing emotional intelligence or enhancing it? Because I understand that it's not an easy job, right? And probably you would be recruiting someone in the team who already has EI, but how do you build on it? What kind of trainings and development programs you guys use?
Yeah, so that's a very good question because that's something it's very hard to coach someone into. So you need to find people who are already good with, the emotional quotient. It's not everyone's cup of tea is what I have realized. So apart from so that is one part. You hire the right set of people to run that show. Now in an overall company, you cannot expect everyone to have high EI. So what we do, especially in the HR segment, we definitely mandate that. Not mandate in the sense that's something that we always look at when we look at someone to be hired, that their emotional quotient is high. And the trainings, we have quite a few trainings that we usually run as part of the HR practice Neon. So these are all based on our, we call it as a wizard training program. And so that is one, the introspection framework training program is another. So we do quite a few training programs more to introspect, be self-aware, and and with the introspection and self-awareness, how do you what do you say how do you create or design your career is something that we try helping people to do. Again, it's something, it's a journey that each individual has to take. All that we can do is give them some hints and cues that these are the 5 things that you should do. And at times we forcefully push people to introspect. So we have a practice called as journey sheet. End of every year in March, 1st of March onwards till the end of March, we expect all the employees to write the journey. Journey is nothing but the journal. I want everyone to write what you did in the last 12 months. Good things, bad things, things you liked, things you didn't like, things you were planning to do and you did, things you planned to do but you never did. The certifications that you wanted to take, you have taken and you have not taken. So everything. So whatever has happened in the last 12 months, we want them to summarize that in an essay. It's and and initially it was hard for us to explain it to employees why we want them to do this. And they were thinking that these are written for the company to read, and we were telling them we are not going to read that. This is nothing but introspection. If I am forcefully asking you to summarize your last 12 months, you have to think through and look at right from April onwards, what all you have done, what all projects you have been part of. We are forcefully making them introspect, and at times that's the only way to make it work. So yeah, so we have a few such activities as part of Neon to push people into being more self-aware. So I'm not saying that we are extremely successful in it, but I think we are moving in the right direction is what we feel. And a lot of people have come back to us saying that the way you guys run it is very different, and we have quite a few clients coming back and telling us that somehow we feel a difference in your consultant versus any other company that we have worked with. And I believe these are some of the reasons. Probably, I don't know, I mean, there is no data to prove that yes, this has worked, but I feel these all bring some characteristic changes, behavioral changes in people, getting them more grounded, even though they're coming from, let's say, the IIMs and the ISBs, FMS or XLRs. We want the people to be grounded. We want the people to show their humane character first than their skills. So because skills are available in the market.
Oh, that's very interesting. Talking a bit about myself, I have worked with 3 industries and 2 industries and 3 companies so far. And what you have told is certainly something which I haven't experienced so far. The visit program, the journey mapping, yeah, it's very interesting. And I hope these new programs set a good benchmark for you guys.
Yeah.
So that you keep on building next
We've
year.
been running it for the last couple of years now, so I think
great.
it has shaped up well. Of course, it has evolved, but yeah, I mean,
yeah, so that's true for any idea, right?
It has to evolve.
Yeah,
you cannot be rigid on that. And if you realize that some things are not working, I know I remember Deepak talking about it. It's not easy for someone to accept criticism. I think the people who can accept criticisms are the most grounded people.
True.
Right? And we have seen that a few things didn't work, and we accepted. Yeah, I mean, it's a mistake. We'll change it. So we have evolved that quite a few times. Multiple iterations have happened, and I am sure it will keep happening. So yeah, that's the journey.
Yeah. So moving on to the next leg of the discussion, which is into the talent fetching. That how do you get more talent into your company? So there are 2 channels primarily. One is campus hiring, the other is related with the lateral hirings, right? So apart from this, I would like to ask you, like, as we are going towards a new generation of workers, millennials, Gen Alpha, and whatnot, right? So the traditional benefits no longer work. It's not just the pay now. It's not just the cringe benefits now.
True.
So how is your organization prepping up to, basically sell themselves?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So I know it's a very interesting question. How expectation from people are changing over the years, and I think this has always been happening. This is not a new phenomenon. So if you look at people who worked in 70s versus 80s to 90s and 2000, people expectation from work has changed. Of course, compensation has always remained as it is, so that's still probably the primary factor that make someone choose a company or not. But additional to that, there are multiple additional mm, influencing factors that have come in. So when you look at a company's compen, it's not just the compensation, the salaries, etc. part. You look at what additional benefits they are able to offer.
True.
So one, are they giving hybrid work? Am I able to work from home 2 days a week, 3 days from office? So that's there. So we have that. We have hybrid work model. The second is, if I'm working from home, I'm working for the company. So are they giving me broadband connection, or are they giving me phone connection? Yes, we are giving both. So we all our employees get broadband connection as well as a mobile CUG connectivity. Now when you look at, so that takes care of your work part, right? You're connecting to internet, new work is happening, your Teams is working, Outlook is working, and your calls that's coming from your clients, stakeholders, whoever it's, you are able to pick up at company's cost. That's taken care of. Now what's next? The medical. So medical is of course covered. So we cover the medical insurance of the employee and the immediate family and their parents. So it's extended to the parents. So that's covered. Now comes, let's say, the consultation, the outpatient type of requirement. So we have tied up with a company where we have a platform where someone, I mean, an employee will, so every year they have to renew the medical insurance. So they log into the platform, they can add all their dependents, including their parents, their in-laws, and all of them will get free medical online consultation. So
Okay.
it is offered by the platform. So they get wellness consultation as well. So if they have any, if they are facing any challenges, like burnout, I know we spoke about during the panel discussion. So we have a team as part of the platform who takes care of that. So, and that's completely anonymous. We as a company will never get to know who contacted them. So that's kept that way, so that they have the flexibility to reach out to them and take intervention as and when required. So that takes care of your medical and your mental wellness, right? And the other part is the employee engagement activity. So we have, at a functional practice level, we have engagement activities. So we're quite famous for our parties. I don't know if you have not been part of, so I'm sure you're quite famous in Bangalore for that. And we do a lot of activities beyond parties, where we get the family day in office, we have engagement activities in office, we have those foos tables and carom boards in our office, so people can take a break from their calls and and enjoy for some time. So we conduct fun Fridays. So a lot of activities are driven around employee experience, because one, we want more people to come to office, because I don't think anyone has still cracked a way to build culture or grow culture
True.
having them sitting at home. I don't think that's, maybe that's something coming later, but I feel a culture to grow, you need people to be together at one place physically. And people who, I mean, quite a few of our folks have hardly come to office, and that's something which they have always told me, that now you should run some activities which will engage people virtually as well, and which
Okay.
we do, but nothing compared to what you actually experience when three people get together at one place. I'm not talking about drinking, but just to get together, talk about work, and they talk about their families, and the
True.
bond that created there, you cannot replace that with anything. It's impossible. People can say that yes, 10 things can be done to take care of it, but I will say none can replace that. So yeah, a lot of activities are driven at office to get people and connect each other, because most of the time, being in the consulting world, you work in your silos with the client. You hardly get time to spend with your parent company like Centric. You're with your client all the time. So how do you create a bonding between that individual and Centric? How do you make them feel that they are part of Centric? uh, if we don't do these activities, I feel they will never feel belonged to any particular company, and that's extremely crucial in a consulting world, because otherwise they will quit and go the drop of a hat.
Mm.
If someone else is giving me 10,000 more, I'll quit and go, because I'm not connected to the authentic. I don't know
True.
the authentic. I only know my client. So I think that's crucial. So we spend a lot of time thinking what can be done, and we do a lot of activities to
So
keep them engaged.
building on the same question,
Mm.
uh, what lens with what lens do you view the social media platforms such as Facebook, maybe
Mm.
Instagram, Snapchat, then there was Metaverse, in building this kind of culture or promoting, fun activities or engagement
Mm.
activities among your employees? Because I feel that as a millennial or as Gen
Mm.
Alpha, these people, this set of audience is very hooked to the social media, right?
True, true. I think see, these platforms will augment their experience, but uh, these are just add-ons. Uh, if you have a very strong engagement structure already in place, where I was talking about earlier, right, where you get people at to one place, one platform, they talk, they spend time, they dance, they have fun, nothing can replace that. But being active in a social media platform, could be a LinkedIn or a Insta or X or Snapchat, is good, because that's also needed, because you, more than employee engagement there, it's more of brand promotion, because you're talking about what all you're doing in the company, and you're letting the others who are outside the company know that these are the 10 things I do in
True,
the company.
true.
And without propagating that through these platforms, they will never get to know how we function as a company, and that is needed for someone to join us. I mean, otherwise, why will they choose a company like the Centric versus a Big Four or any other
Yeah.
company, right? And these are the differentiators that I also want to show to the larger world, that yes, this is how we are different, and this is probably one additional reason why you should join us. So
Yeah.
that is primarily for brand building than for engagement activities. Yeah.
True. So moving on in the discussion, Ajay.
Mhm.
So if I talk about talent management, right? So what do you think is the biggest challenge that you face or the industry is facing in terms of talent management, and what probable solutions exist or probably you guys are using?
I think there are a couple of problems that exist in my world of talent management. I'm not sure if it's true in other industries. In my industry, in my world, one of the major challenges is getting the right candidate with the right skill set and culture fit. That's becoming increasingly difficult, because you're talking about 100 people skilled in, if I take supply chain as a function, supply chain planning, uh, these 100 people are probably from some of the best colleges in the country, and there are 100 companies who are hunting for these 100 people.
Right.
Now, getting that right person with the right culture fit into our company is extremely difficult. With others, it's a little more easy, because their culture fit filters are different, their conditions for culture fit are different. For us, it's quite different. I'm sure you would agree, based on our discussion, that we follow a
Right.
philosophically flat organization, so you need to be driven from
True.
inside,
Self motivated.
self motivated, so we need all of that. And it's usually a little difficult. I know we compromise in a few times, and because we have to fulfill the demand at some point, so that is there. But largely, we try to get the right candidate with the skill set and the culture match, so that their journey in the company is smooth, as well as our journey helping them is smooth. The second is the the joiner ratio. So we find people, we interview, we select, but end of the day, when it comes to joining, I think a good 20 percentage, more than 20 percentage in certain functions, they don't join. So
Oh.
because again, it's all coming down to that factor, that it's the same set of skill set most of the companies in this area is looking for, and there's a huge competition to find, acquire the right uh, candidate from the market. So it becomes difficult in the lateral segment or the lateral market. It's a lot more easier when it comes to campuses, because once you build that trust with the campus, it becomes easier to hire from the campus every year, year on year. I feel that's one reason why we also invest a lot of time hiring from campus, choosing the right campus to hire from, because the courses that we need for these candidates to be acquired as part of the skill set from the campuses is different. So we have identified a few set of campuses where we year on year go and hire. From the lateral, it's always difficult because of the extreme competition that we face. I think once the person decides to join, then there is nothing stopping. I don't think we have faced any problem. The biggest problem is getting the right set of candidates to getting them join us. And I think it's a problem companies of our size and our stature faces. The larger companies probably they have a different problem.
So when you talk about culture fit, right? So how can you actually, or how are you actually gauging that the person will be able to fit in? One obvious answer would be psychometric test, I think, which you can align with a check whether the values are congruent with what you want. Any other interesting take that you guys are following?
We started with a psychometric test initially, but then we realized since it's a test, I mean, the person has to be extremely genuine and truthful to himself or herself to get the right answer. So what we have done in the last couple of years is we have trained all the recruiters. We help them understand, guide person during their interaction with them, whether the person can be a culture fit or not. And these calls are taken by the recruiters. And we just go with their decision. And I think most of the time we were right. But again, there are a few times where we have made mistakes. And the difficult part of the mistake is that person who's joining us, they will realize at some point that it's not the right company that I should have joined, and they will part ways with us, which is fine, because if that individual is not enjoying the work in the company, then there is no point of retaining the person or putting efforts to retain. But that's a very very small minority. Largely, we are able to get the right set of people into the system. Yeah.
That's great to know. So now moving on towards the last leg of the conversation, which is towards the future of HR, right? So now we would like to shift the lens from the present to the future. Now let's look at from the perspective of 2030 or 2035. What challenges or how do you see the human resource management evolving then?
I think challenges will always be the same. So this challenge which I spoke about, finding the right set of candidates from the market, getting them join us, this has been there from time immemorial. This is nothing new. It's just that now it has become increasingly difficult because one, depending on the industry where we are planning to hire from and the type of skill set that we are trying to hire, and so that's one point, right? The second is the technology landscape that's changing so frequently. It becomes extremely difficult for people to keep themselves upskilled every year. So the set of people who falls into that bucket of the skill set match is getting, I mean, smaller, and companies who want such people are getting bigger. So this will keep happening, and I'm sure there is always been this ratio of the number of the right set of candidates available in the market and the number of companies hunting for them. So I feel that's going to continue probably in that ratio, and probably is going to get a little more tougher. But I could see that in the last couple of years, colleges and universities are also changing their ways of teaching. Their curriculums are getting changed more, getting in line with what is required in the market, what is expected by companies in the market, which didn't happen in the last decade. So now I see a lot of companies who are focusing more on, let's say, analytic driven graduations and post graduations, which are a need of the hour. And I think as and when we have more universities, colleges changing their curriculum to get into the same page of what is expected in the market, I feel that pool of people that we have in the market to be hired for will increase, and that should help. But I'm sure this ratio will always be there, and we will always struggle at any point of time to find the right set of candidates. getting them join will always be a problem. We'll have more companies to fight with. Uh, but the advantage, some of the advantages I see in the future is like, some of the panelists were talking about AI driven resume screening. I think we'll have more, as I know, I'll agree with Abhijat. It's not AI. It's not. There's no intelligence in it. It's more of training the engine to identify the resumes based
Yeah.
on some key parameters. We'll have more advanced algorithms to optimize it. So I think that will help the job of a recruiter to do the first level of screening done by some engine, and then you just need to look at the next set of people who need to be interviewed physically or over the phone. So that will help because it still has a lot more to go. We also use quite a few of such engines to screen the resumes, and it's helpful but not the best. I don't think it has reached that point where we can 100% rely on it. The next couple of years, I'm sure that will get optimized and we'll have better engines to predict. And otherwise, TA is a people-driven function, and that will always stay as it is. How much ever AI, whatever comes into play, I think human intervention is extremely crucial in this function. So that will always stay as it is what I feel. Yeah.
No, I think that's totally correct. So when you talk about the challenges, I think the main the main challenge that you mentioned was related to the technology front, right? And since technology is changing every day, but we are not teaching that changed technology to the classrooms every day.
Right.
So there's always going to be a certain lag, and which is going to be the differentiator point in terms of quality of candidates that you guys will be getting.
Correct.
Right. But yeah, apart from that, I do get that where you guys are forcing yourselves. So this brings me towards the end of the conversation. So before ending, I just have a very open-ended question, and which is probably for all of us and all of my viewers here. What 3 tips would you like to give to the aspiring leaders who want to make a significant impact in any organization?
Okay. I think first, be a leader, and be a leader in all its sense. Uh, Leading people is what is expected from someone who is at a senior level, because a lot of people will be looking up to you, and the ways of your working translates into the ways of their working. So be the right leader is, I think, one important point that everyone should think about. And I think that's extremely key. uh, the second, I will say that, to be successful in an industry, you need to be able to influence people, and again, being a good leader, you will by default, as part of you being the leader, will do it. But being an influential person is extremely important, because you will not be able to otherwise um, uh, get people work in a way that you're expected them to work, and they can only trust you or believe you once they resonate with your thought process. So I think that is extremely important. And what else? I think
Do
if
you
you
think?
I mean, the emotional intelligence or emotional quotient being high is also very much important for a person who's going to lead the organization or being part of any function, leading it. Because end of the day, you are dealing with people, and people comes with varied of behaviors and characteristics, and you being that person to understand, in the new terms, vibe with them, I think it makes a lot of sense, and that will help them to be open with you, to be able to trust you, to be able to be around you. And I think these are all very important. And I think, yeah, I mean, these are all factors influencing you to be a great leader, or someone, not a visionary, but at least a great leader in the company. And I know this probably not directly related. I was just reading this article by Srikanth. uh, One of my colleague forwarded that to me. Srikanth is the co-founder in Fractal.
Oh.
So he was taking a bet on he was taking his stab on the 70-day work rule, which Narayana Murthy was proposing. So he was kind of explaining that how you should look at the market. And I mean, if you're an individual, not market, I would say how you should look at this whole industry itself. So 70-day work week was something which was normal before 70s, because that was a time when the nations, all the countries were struggling and they want to uh, grow as an economical power, and that was when they expected everyone to work 70 hours. And it's been long time that we have stopped that. Now it's a 40-hour work week. Now if you look at that, you have to divide how a person can grow into three categories. One, or three factors influence them to have a better earning. So one you can call as extreme hard work. Second, you can call as sound decisions, and third, you can say that good fortune. So these are the three factors which can help in I mean, either single or in a combination to help you grow and succeed in life. So if you look at the bottom 50%, these are the people who couldn't have any of these three. So they did not work extremely hard. They didn't have a good fortune. They didn't make any sound decisions. When I say sound decisions, it means taking a decision to join a college, taking the right decision to join a company, taking a decision to maybe apply for a role. It can be anything in your life. So the top 25 percentage would have taken, sorry, the top 50 percentage would have at least had one thing made right. They are either extremely hardworking, they have been probably at the right place at the right time, which is good fortune, or they have made some right good decisions in some part of their life. So they are in the top 50 percentage, and they will have a respectful life. The top 25 percentage would have got two of them right. Either they have a very good fortune, meaning right time at the right place, or they have made some sound decisions. So together, combination will get them to the top 25 percentage. The top 2 percentage are the ones who got all the three right. Now what Narayana Murthy talking about is how someone can get to the top 25 percentage, right? So which is not needed. I mean, as long as you're able to reach to the top 50 percentage, you still have a respectful life. So I know there was a lot of debate on it, and
Yeah.
I mean, I was kind of resonate completely with what Srikanth was saying in that message, that you have to interpret what's being told in the way that he's trying to. He was envisioning in that way. It's not that he's not expecting everyone to do that.
Right.
But if someone who haven't made any good decisions or sound decisions, and they have never been at the right place at the right time, the only way for them to succeed is extreme hard work, which is 70 hours. So, or 40 plus hours. So I mean, I found that it's a very interesting take to it. So I know it's not connected to what you asked, but it's interesting that how you as a leader will also look at people and what their aspirations are in the system. I mean,
True.
in their career, not as part of your company, as part of their career, their individual career. So I think you should give them those right guidances at the right time, which can help them to succeed or achieve whatever they want to achieve, and that they will value it for the end of their life. And it's think there is no much gratitude than knowing that someone who's part of your team has reached some great place. Maybe not in your company, but somewhere. Uh, it's always a great thing to know. That's the biggest award that you can get as a leader.
That's a very interesting perspective that which you have painted. So I think if I have to reiterate, it would be having the right leadership skills, making right decisions, ignoring the noise, and fourth would be emotional intelligence. I'm not quite sure that how we can build our good fortunes.
You cannot. Exactly my
Yeah.
point. You cannot. That's
So-
not in your hands.
So let's just try to place the bets on what we can do.
What we can.
Yeah. And apart from that, hard work will always play an important part, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, with this, Ajay, we come to the end of discussion.
Great.
And thanks for joining
Yeah,
in. It
my
was a
pleasure.
wonderful session.
Thank you.
Thank you.